Welcome to Thinking Outside and Mixing Inside the Box. I want to talk about some mixing tricks and techniques here. I use Studio One. Today I want to talk about brauerizing. Brauerizing sounds pretty complicated, but it isn't. Why would you brauerize? This is multi-bus compression. Why would you use multiple buses with different compressors for your mix? Think of the early studio days. If you're in a studio with hardware, you have a limited amount of outboard gear. So you cannot put 20 different compressors on 30 channels. So you have to take a decision. Which kind of instruments do I send to this one and which kind of instruments do I send to the other compressors, because they have a tonal character, they have a certain quality. And Michael Brauer had a routing, which is very interesting, because Michael Brauer uses compressor not so much for compression, he uses them for tonal character. And he decided that you have 4 categories, A, B, C, and D, 4 slots. So slot number A is for keys, piano, strings, synth, instruments which have a certain kind of sustain, and he decided he wants to use for these instruments. He loves the sound of the Neve 33609 compressor limiter. And the good thing is we have emulation here from IK Multimedia, which sounds pretty cool too, but it's not so expensive. So I did set up in Studio One a bus called A with this one. With each instrument we go into the slot A, B, C or D, and for the voice we use extra compressors. To make sure we get the same bounce back from this channel and not a total different loudness, you have to calibrate them in a way. So I have a tone generator at -18, I set the compression, very soft compression, and then with the output of the compressor, I set it so that the U meter is at 0. When I do this with every compressor in my A, B, C, D slots, I get the same outcome when I send something in. So I can decide I can send something into A or I can send it to B, and it will have the same loudness bounce back in a way. Just to show you guys, here's the Push UBK1 doing something, and the U meter says 0. Imagine if I would have the master on the normal level, the output after the compression would be less than 0. So it would have a different outcome than channel A. We don't want that, so we set it up to this point. Michael Brauer decided to use for this B channel, which is for drums and for bass, he uses a distressor. And the Kush UBK1 has a squish mode and acts like a distressor in a way. And also you can add saturation, harmonic distortion, because Michael Brauer used the distortion on the distressor. And you end up with this on channel B. And in this case, with the distressor, this is the exception where you want the compressor to kind of excite the thing, not pumping, but kind of exciting, squishing thing to do with drums and bass. I go into these channels with the sends in Studio One. So when I go to my drums, I use the send it to the B, and I send it in parallel. So unlike Michael Brauer, I think for my workflow and for my taste, it's very it's a good sound when I use these in parallel. There's the original drums and there's parallel the outcome of the compressed drums. The Michael Brauer idea is, I think it's not very important to follow it 100%. It's just a style, and it's fun to figure out how to work with this style. So We have the A for strings and keys and synth, and we have the B for drum and bass, and we have the C, which sounds like that, for guitars. I just have acoustic guitars here in this song. And Michael Brauer decided to use on the C bass a pendulum ES8 compressor, which is a kind of very mu compressor. So we can use a Fairchild emulation, which is a very mu 2. The Fairchild 670 emulation from T-Rex is called Vintage Compressor. The setting here is 1, so it's a rather fast release. And it's not working very hard, you see, it's just a gain reduction between 0 and 2. Michael Brauer thought that most of the stuff, not the distressor, but most of the compressors have a sweet spot where the bounce back from the compressor sounds the best and doesn't squish the material and doesn't sound artificial, but gives a very good energy. And he found out that these sweet spots are not in the high gain reduction with compressors, but you know, in the space between a gain reduction of 0 to 3 decibel. Bus number D, he uses Edward the compressor, but we use, or I use, a Cush RR1, which is an emulation of an old Altec Lansing 436B. This compressor or this emulation is interesting because the Altec Lansing was bought by Abbey Road Studios 3 years before they found the Fairchild, and they modified this Altec Lansing, and after that sold it under their name as RS124 modified. But a lot of Beatles records and Pink Floyd, the first Pink Floyd records, the sound we love from compression there comes from the Altec Lansing and not always from the Fairchild. It's not important to have exactly this plugin or the plugins which would perfectly emulate Michael Brauer's workflow. It's just important to, if you have a compressor in your arsenal where you think like, oh, this sounds, this has a certain character to me, then use it. Find another compressor which sounds very different. For example, the SSL emulation has a certain spang. It sounds very different from the Waves CLA Teletronics emulation, the LA2A emulation, which has not a fast release and a very slow attack. And these two different characters, it's just interesting to find the instruments which are perfect for these compressors, or other way around, the compressors which are perfect for these instruments. So you mix into A, B, C, and D, and what you get is a very nice separation, because what you want is on the master bus there should be a kind of glue, should sound together. But you want to really have the separation between drums and guitars and voice and backgrounds. Channel D is for backgrounds and for stereo widening. Michael Brauer thought that it's also good to send some certain effects or reverbs to this channel, and he uses the widening knob on the on Edward the compressor to widen the stereo field. We can do the same and maybe use the S1 from Waves to widen the stereo image. And then what you have is a bigger choir. Sounds a little bit strange. There you have it. Talking about vocals. So Michael Brauer decided to use 5 different compressors for the vocal. So I thought, why not? Why not do it? This is my main vocal. By the way, this is a song I wrote because I thought about Bruce Springsteen. I wanted to have a Bruce Springsteen mood song. So that's how I did it. So again, we have got the stressor for the vocals. We have got 1176 emulation. We've got another SDA level compressor. We've got another Fairchild emulation. Then I've got a doubler. Then I've got some vocal distortion. And then I've got some room and some large reverb in my set. Sounds crazy complicated, but you know what? If you set it up as a template, it's easy. So the voice, the main voice goes into these another 5 buses. Here you are. You left me again, the Kush. 1176 emulation from iCal Multimedia, which I love. Not working hard. And here's a plugin from Fuse Audio Labs, which emulate a very old gate amplifier and compressor, which was used for military and is loved by some well-known audio engineers. So I thought, let's try it, and it sounds fantastic. And it doesn't work. It's just a little bit. Funny thing is, with all this computer stuff going on, with all these crazy plugins and recording the screen, of course my computer begins to stutter. And the interesting thing is that you can set up a mix template in Studio One. It's like you build a song and you have these plugins and you have got this routing. And then you save it, and then it's like a mix template because you can import it in the new song you want to mix, so you don't have so much work. But if you go like this, import song data, and you go to your songs, I've got the mix template here, which sets up exactly this kind of routing for me. After the ABCD channel, which work in parallel, there is some more compression on the 2 bus going on. I've got the 24 iCal Multimedia tape machine because I love the sound of that. And after that, I use another Neve 33609 emulation. But I use this also in parallel, and there's a special thing in Studio One where you can set up a sidechain so that the compressor doesn't use the low information, leaves it alone, but compresses the frequencies, for example, from 187 Hertz up. The other stuff he leaves alone, which sounds fantastic to me. Then I go into the Kush Novatron because I just love the sound of this plugin. But also here, I don't want to let it work so hard. It's just for gluing and for the sound. Also here's a parallel knob, so it doesn't process the whole thing. Also, this one has a sidechain too. So a lot of compressors work very subtle and give some kind of harmonic distortion, some tonal character, and bring instruments and vocals in your face. So that's in general how you would set up your mix for the idea of Brauerizing. I hope you like it, and I think in my next video I want to show you how to set up the mix template. Please leave comments, leave questions, and if you like this video, hit the subscribe button, and let's do more stuff about mixing inside and thinking outside the box. People become perfect liars,
Stakes are getting high and higher. The truth is sold the perfect deal. The story's getting so unreal. But I'm ready to move on. I'm ready to move on. Go ahead and act your tale. The heroes fighting for females. The Joker was just shot for fun. But I'm ready to move on. I'm ready to move on. Leave me blowing away. You 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 make believe what you can feel. Your face looks pale, your eyes are sealed. You don't give a shit who's gone. But I'm ready to move on. I'm ready to move on. Leave me blowing away. You leave me blowing away. You leave me blowing away. You leave me blowing away. I'm ready to move on. I'm ready to move on.